while you were there, you lived and breathed football. Like you were all in on this. You were so into that. You spent a lot of time inside a closet, a broom. I don't even know which closet it was.
People who know me know I'm a bit cheap. I decided to move into the Woody Hayes Center. I moved all my stuff into a couple lockers, stay up as late as anyone was there so that no one saw me. I'd go into my little closet in the defensive line room and then try to wake up before anyone got there and sneak off into the locker room, get changed, and act like I walked in the building. The days that I slept in, though, were the tough ones because I'd have to sneak by while wiping, the crusties out of my eyes.
Welcome in to NFL Spotlight. I am your host, Ari Meirov. It is the Tuesday, August 26th edition of the show. We are presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, and since it is a Tuesday, that means we have a special Spotlight guest. And for the first time here on the show, it's been a while, we are going to have a guest from the New England Patriots, and we will be joined by their VP of Football Operations and Strategy, John Streicher, a.k.a. Stretch. This is somebody who is a truly behind-the-scenes type of a guy, but somebody who is very, very close to Mike Vrabel and somebody who is viewed as a rising star in the league, who has his hands involved in basically every part of the football operation, from game management to roster strategy to scouting to analytics to stuff behind the scenes with ownership and much, much more. He spent a year in LA last year with the Rams with Sean McVay. Sean has gone as far to say on the record to the Boston Herald that he's going to be a future GM. This is somebody who's really impressive. And as soon as Mike Vrabel got the job in New England this offseason, he made sure to bring Stretch with him once again. He had him in Ohio State. That's where they got to know each other. He had him in Tennessee, and now they are back together in New England. And he has a lot of roles over here with the Patriots as they try to get back to the glory days in New England. So here it is, my full 40-plus minute discussion with New England Patriots Vice President of Football Operations and Strategy, John Streicher. Joining us today here on NFL Spotlight, he is the Vice President of Football Operations and Strategy for the New England Patriots, works very closely with a number of people in the organization, including the new head coach in Mike Vrabel, and is simply a vital figure in the organization of what is going on from a day-to-day. It is John Streicher, a.k.a. Stretch. John, what's going on? How are you?
Hi, Ari. Thanks for having me on. Very excited. I've listened to some of your previous episodes. You had some great guys on, so thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm really excited about this because what the show is about, and as you probably know, I mean, we're trying to find the people behind the scenes in the organizations, people who do a lot, but people don't really know about them, or the players on the team that are underrated or underappreciated, and you would fall into that category. And before I get into the entire journey and the path, let me get this out of the way first. You're known as Stretch around the NFL by everybody. How did that nickname come about? I mean, let's just get that out of the way first.
That started at Ohio State. So when I got there, I was an equipment manager under Jim Tressel, and he called me Strike because my last name's Streicher. He called me Strike. And actually, of all people, Terrell Pryor changed it to Stretch, and that kind of stuck. And my wife has been trying to get it out ever since, but everywhere I've been has been people that I've known or have liked the name, so it's a part of me now.
It has stuck. And I was speaking to somebody about you the other day, and they were like, nobody calls him John, nobody calls him Strike. It's Stretch, and that's it. Just call him Stretch. Like, I got it. All right, no problem.
Yeah, I would assume about half of the people that know me personally don't actually know my real name, so I'm good with Stretch.
There you go. And you're sitting down here on cameras. People can't really tell, but you are 6'7". You're a big guy, and you were a high school basketball player at first before football was ever a thing. Was basketball a career choice early on in your life, and how did football become the path eventually?
Yeah, I stopped playing football in middle school and focused solely on basketball. I was like you said, a tall, very, very skinny kid. And so I figured football was probably not my thing. I didn't like to get hit. And so basketball became my year-round passion. Did AAU, obviously in season with the team, and tried to take that as long as I could. And once once college came and I realized that I wasn't going to get Division I offers, I you know, hung up the basketball shoes and the basketball and moved on. But yeah, I loved basketball and just love sports in general.
So you end up going to the Ohio State, and what was the plan there? Like, was it to be the student life? Was it let me angle over here to end up with the football program? Like, how did that all unfold for you?
So I'll take you back a step. So growing up, I was a caddy. I caddied at a local country club for I think 5 years, and I thought that I could get the Evans scholarship. It's a full ride to college, and I was dead set on that, and I didn't end up getting that. But the experiences that I got from caddying, just being able to have conversations with grown men and women that were successful on the west side of Cincinnati, was definitely invaluable to me and something I look back to now and I'm really glad I did. But fast forward, didn't get that. And I didn't get a Division I basketball scholarship. So I went to Ohio State just as a student. At that time, you had to try out to be a student equipment manager. I think that's still the case, but tryout is an interesting way to put it. You came to a spring practice and they kind of just threw you in with the equipment managers and saw if you fit in and if you could handle your own. And so I went there. I was an animal science major. I wanted to be a veterinarian. After a couple of microbiology courses, I figured that that might not be the right course for me. And I really got involved with football. I went from equipment manager to a student coach in grad school, paid my own way, but a student coach, and just fell in love with it, fell in love with the people, fell in love with the strategy, the players, and took me on the road that I am on now.
Now, was there, there's this entire thing that we do with the show is like, how do you get your foot in the door? Was there a specific person who maybe told you, hey, you should be around our football program more? And was that, did that ever happen for you?
So my dad was a football player at Miami of Ohio. He was a two-time all-conference player. He went to the Steelers for a training camp, got cut, didn't make it, went back and GA'd at Miami under Tom Reed, but then got out of it. Just at the time, it wasn't right. He was starting a family, and coaching was not a highly paid profession back then. But he instilled that love for football back then. And when he went back to Miami, Jim Tressel was on that staff and Jim Bowman was on that staff. And then fast forward when I was going to college, those were the head coach and offensive coordinator at Ohio State. So he had kind of kept up with them a little bit. And that's how I got my in at Ohio State. And then I would sit in Jim Bowman's offensive line meetings while I was an equipment manager. But then between Greg Gillum and Luke Fickle, I got that next step to be able to be a student assistant. They're obviously both at Wisconsin now and hopefully going to have a great year this year. Tremendous human beings. Coach Fickle's as passionate as he comes, but he is a great family man and great friend as well. So, but I would say those were the guys that opened the door for me.
While you were there, you lived and breathed football. Like you were all in on this. And we recently had Jaguars offensive coordinator Granny Dinskey on the show, and he talked about how for him he would sleep in his car by a Walmart just to go to Baylor practices to get a chance. You were so into that. You spent a lot of time inside a closet, a broom. I don't even know which closet it was, but like that's how dedicated you were to all of this. Like, how did that start? How long did it last? And I guess how did that ultimately get you to meet Mike Vrabel as well?
So I did that for a year while I was a student assistant. And like I said, the student assistants didn't get paid. It's not like I was a graduate assistant. So I was paying my way to go to school, to stay in school so that I could continue to do this. So people who know me know I'm a bit cheap. And so instead of taking out loans or whatnot to live in an apartment. I decided to move into the Woody Hayes Center. Um, I moved all my stuff into a couple lockers in the assistant's locker room, not the main coach's locker room. It was another locker room. And then, yeah, I would stay up as late as anyone was there so that no one saw me. I'd go into my little closet in the defensive line room and then try to wake up before anyone got there and sneak off into the locker room, get changed, and act like I walked in the building. The days that I slept in, though, were the tough ones because I'd have to sneak by the staff room was there. And if the offensive coaches were in the staff room, I'd have to sneak by while wiping, the crusties out of my eyes. So that was always that was fun. But I'm glad I did it because I lived and breathed it, and I learned a ton. During that time, I met Vrabes on Tuesdays. He would stay the night as well. He had a nice cush blow-up mattress, I'll say, in his meeting room. But we would grind Tuesday, and then like late night, it was like story hour. He would tell us stories about the NFL, about his time at Ohio State, and it just invigorated me more to want to do this. So that's how we really bonded and made that connection.
How did Mike even discover you? Because this was when Mike was also trying to get his start as a coach. Of course, he had an exceptional career as a player, but how did he discover you, and how did that bond become so close during that time there in Ohio State, where both of you obviously have remained so close?
Yeah, I think that he respected the GAs and the student assistants. There was a group of us. Shane Bowen, he's now the
Giants.
defensive coordinator for the Giants. He was one of our GAs. Ron Miles, he's no longer in the profession, but he worked for the Patriots and the scouting department for a couple of years. He was the student assistant. And I think he just respected that the passion that we had for it and the sacrifice that we made to try and get into this thing. And so he tried to help us out as much as he could. He paid for lunches. He would lend his house when they were out of town for us to bring friends over. He was just, so I worked for Everett Withers, and I owe a lot of my career and the future that I've had in this business to Everett Withers. The 2 years that I was with Urban Meyer, Everett Withers was the co-DC and the secondary coach, and that's who I directly worked for, was the secondary. So I didn't work alongside Vrabel the whole time, but when we were in staff meetings, and then, like I said, on Tuesday nights, and then in the off season, stuff like that, I would babysit Carter and Tyler. They weren't necessarily babies, but we would hang out and give Mike and Jen a break. And I think we just got close through family, and he learned to trust me because he could trust me with his kids, and there's nothing like family. So I think that was probably it.
When it comes to just the football side of things, one of the things that all the coaches and Mike respected a lot was the instant recall you would have inside the booth. How did, I guess, you build that memory muscle? Was it reps? Was it just writing? That's the one thing that I've heard a lot about you when it comes to this stuff. You are the best at. Where did that come from?
I would not say I have instant recall. I would say that Mike Vrabel does. I would say Sean McVay does. They can, if you either bring up a play on film or bring it up in just conversation, they can tell you the play call. They can tell you who was in, who made the catch, how many receiving yards they had that day. Those two guys are like football geniuses. I am not that. I just watch a ton of film. I watch every game every week, and I try to catalog in my brain, all right, this situation happened here. And so then I can pull things from my catalog in my mind of, all right, this was that penalty enforcement, or this was that specific situation in replay that happened, a couple years ago, and this is how the league handled that. So it's more just past experience, either from myself or past experiences from watching film around the league.
Hey guys, it's Ari, and I'm excited to tell you that NFL Spotlight is sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook this NFL season, and we are here to help you get an edge on your bets. FanDuel gets you ready for the NFL season with an offer that you do not want to miss. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and you're going to get $300 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet.
Yeah, that's right, Ari. Pick a bet, wager the $5. If it wins, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style is, FanDuel has you covered. And the NFL season is almost here, so the only question is, are you ready to play?
Head over to FanDuel and sign up before the 2025 season kicks off.
All right, Ari, season's around the corner. I figured there was no better time than right now to make an MVP prediction. I know that we're going to go next week and do a little bit more of the full slate, but we wanted to give the people just a little bit of a taste as to who you think is going to be the MVP this season. In FanDuel right now, they have Lamar Jackson winning his third MVP at plus 430. You think that he should be the favorite?
I mean, I love Lamar Jackson. I think he honestly should have won last year. That's a whole different discussion. But my pick last year was Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow, if the Bengals made the playoffs last year with his 4,918 yards and 43 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, he was awesome. I think he would have won it over Lamar, over Josh Allen, over everybody. So, and this is the reality. I think their offense is even better this year. And that's why I'm going to go with Joe Burrow once again. We just had a Bengals preview here earlier this week on the show, and this is the first offseason Joe Burrow has ever had where there's no distractions, no problems, no COVID, no appendicitis, no ACL, no wrist, no Jamar Chase contract, no T. Higgins contract. The entire offense is all the way locked in. And I look at their schedule. The problem the last couple of years has been the slow starts. They begin the year Browns, Jaguars, Vikings. Those are winnable games for this team. If they get off to a good start, I think they'll be in good position this year to make the playoffs, which obviously they have not done the last 2 years. And for me, when it comes to the MVP, this is obviously voted by media members for the most part. Sometimes it really is how you end the season. What's the last memory we have of you? And if you look at the last 4 games that Joe Burrow is going to have this season, even the last 5 games, you have the Bills and Ravens. That's obviously marquee matchups. Every NFL fan in the world is going to watch that. And the last 3 games are Dolphins, Cardinals, Browns, which should be easier matchups. So if he could just do his thing for the last 5 games, have a good first 12 games, nothing too crazy, I think the ending of the season will lift him to get that first MVP that he's not had in his NFL career. So I'm going to go with Joe Burrow. I love this offense. I love Jamar Chase. I love T. Higgins. I love Chase Brown. I love Mike Gesicki. Noah Fant. The offensive line should be better. This is a team, an offense that should be very, very dangerous this year. And of course, that is led by the one and only Joe Burrow.
Yeah, and right now, Joe Burrow is tied for the second best odds at plus 600 with Josh Allen. Patrick Mahomes slightly after that, 650. Then you make a jump to Jaden Daniels, plus 1,000. So clearly FanDuel Sportsbook thinks that's going to be the right direction there, and they're not far off from who they think is the favorite. So you guys are going to need to stick with us throughout the season. We're going to be doing this every Tuesday. We're going to go through some of the best bets that you can find on FanDuel. So make sure you're subscribed with us, and then head over to FanDuel Sportsbook and sign up before the season kicks off with America's #1 sportsbook.
Now, during this time, eventually Mike makes his move to the Houston Texans, and he starts off as a position coach, eventually defensive coordinator. You make the jump to James Madison from 2014 and 2015, and then to Texas State from 2016 to 2017. Why did you do that, and why was that so important for you, and what were those 2 stops for you when it comes to your career trajectory?
So Everett Withers got the head coaching job at JMU. And like I said earlier, I just respect him so much. He and his wife, Kara, took myself and my future wife under their wings and really looked after us. They brought us up from Ohio State to JMU and Texas State. And so I wanted to go with him. And that was going to be my first paying job in football. And he asked, do I want to coach? What do I want to do? I said, no, I don't think I'm necessarily cut out to be a coach. I don't have the personality necessarily. I'm a very calm, even-keeled demeanor guy. And so I said I'd do operations and recruiting, and I loved it. We built a staff. That staff, by the way, is incredible. The first staff that we built there at JMU ended up having 4 guys. 4 coaches go to the NFL, and 4 coaches go to either the SEC or the Big Ten from that staff of 11 guys. So that was unbelievable. Brandon Staley was on that staff. Brad Davis, he's the LSU line coach. Zach Core, who's with us here with the Patriots. So I say that to say that Withers really knew what he was doing. He had a vision. But what I learned along the way there was that you have to continue to replace good coaches, because at those stops, people leave constantly, get better jobs, and you have to continue to replace them with good people. I would say that I learned at JMU and then going to Texas State that sometimes what might look good on paper might not be the right move. Sometimes the better move is not always the right move, and to always be where your feet are. Texas State has it going now. Don Coryell was a assistant AD at the time. He's now the AD. They've changed a lot within their leadership structure, and they've got that thing rolling. I don't know GJ Kinney at all, but they've flipped that thing, which is cool. But JMU was awesome. I was extremely young. Like I said, that was my first job. And I would say the thing at JMU I'm most proud of is we started something called the Alpha Dogs, which is a football only support system. And we kind of went out and recruited donors per se to be football only donors, and we gave them experiences that were football only and only for the Alpha Dogs. And it really, I think, springboarded JMU to what it is now. They still have that organization, the Alpha Dogs. I'm not sure if they still call it that or not, but that's probably what I'm most proud of. The funny thing is, so I leave Ohio State, they win the national championship the next year. We leave JMU, they win the national championship the next year. So I don't know if that's a bad thing on me or a good thing on me, but people should probably hire me and fire me, and then they might win more. So yeah, no, but I love my time there, and I can't say enough about Everett Withers, the staff he built, and I think the foundation that we built, especially at JMU.
The foundation is obviously it's exceptional. It's really cool to hear also the backgrounds of how it all happened. But after all that happens, Mike gets his big opportunity to become a head coach in Tennessee. And you guys stayed in touch throughout all of this, but he becomes the head coach there. And during this time, he decides to give you a call, like one of the first calls he makes. Was that an easy jump for you to now say, okay, I'm going to the big leagues, going to the NFL? And how did that all happen?
Yeah, so I can vividly remember him calling me. I was in my office at Texas State, and he said, hey, I'm interviewing. I think it was for the Lions job at the time that Matt Patricia ended up getting. But he said, hey, I'm interviewing for a head coaching job. If I get one of these, I want you to come with me. He didn't tell me what as. He didn't tell me what I would do. He didn't tell me what I'd be paid. None of that. And I was like, well, I've got to talk to my wife and have to talk to Coach Withers. But yes, I'm all in. That sounds amazing. And a couple of weeks went by. I think he had 2 or 3 interviews, didn't get any of them. And it was kind of like, okay, this is maybe next year. And then Tennessee, they had won a playoff game and then lost the next week. I think it might have been to the Patriots, and let go of Malarkey. And Braves called me and said, hey, I think this one's real. I'll keep you informed. And the next day or two, he called me. He was actually on a recruiting official visit for his older son, Tyler, at Boston College when he got the call that he would be the head coach in Tennessee. He called me. This was, I think it was on like a Sunday, and said, "Hey, I need you in Mobile on Tuesday, and you won't be going back. So pack your bags." And again, no idea what I'm doing, no idea what I'm getting paid, no idea what my title is. Just, hey, come help me. And it was kind of a learn on the run there.
Now, when all of this happens, I mean, the official title they give you is special assistant to the head coach, but I would imagine there was way more to that. What did your job entail upon arriving with Mike, taking over as a head coach in Tennessee, now getting the big job, and he's obviously making a lot of very big decisions?
So I was his like personal assistant. Anything that calendar wise, anything that he needed done went through me. I was the chief of staff, so anything that the coaching staff needed, anything organizationally, calendar wise, practices, that all went through me. And then I was also his guy up in the booth starting year one. I was kind of learning on the fly in terms of game management, in terms of rules, in terms of replay. And that first year, we were 0 for 5 on challenges. I think we did some good things, but we learned a lot along the way. And those next 5 years in Tennessee, we had the best challenge percentage in the league. We, I think, played great situational football. In close games, we were very confident that we could provide our team with an edge and an advantage. And I just think that we played smart football, sound football, and took advantage of other people's mistakes, which I'm proud of.
That's really what I wanted to talk about, the situational football, the edges, and all those different things. You were a big part of that with Mike. Mike is known around the NFL for being one of the very best when it comes to that. When you were there, like, let me use one example. For example, that wild card game in New England is remembered as Tom Brady's last snap as a Patriots, but you and Coach Vrabel helped set the stage for it with that clock draining punt sequence. Like, could you walk us through how that all unfolded? Because Bill did it earlier in the year in a Monday night game. Like, how did that all happen where you guys saw that and now used it actually on Bill?
Yeah, there are very few new ideas that happen. It's just knowing why something is happening and then being able to teach your own players that, and then being ready for that situation when it occurs in a game. So they've since changed that rule because of that, I get no better joy than when a rule changes because of something that we did. Again, Mike Vrabel has taught me just about everything I know in this area. When I came into the NFL, I was brand new in terms of NFL rules, in terms of what officiating is looking for. And since, after that year, I started to learn and get connections within the NFL league office and around the league. There are a ton of good guys that do this, whether it's John Ferrari in Philadelphia, Harry Freed, he's in Chicago, Daniel Stern with the Ravens. They're Ryan Feeder in Dallas. There are tons of guys that we talk every week during the season, and in the off season, we bounce ideas off of each other. So there aren't many things that are new or a secret. It's just who can execute in the critical situations. And when those situations come up, your team is ready, you've practiced it, and you are calm and collected and can walk the coaching staff and the players through that situation. But ultimately it comes down to the players executing it on the field. But back to your question, yeah, that was a fun moment in New England. It's cool that we're here now. That was my birthday as well. It was a great experience. That was a cool run we had to the AFC Championship game, and just a bunch of great guys that came together. And they were tough. Sometimes we weren't the most talented team, but again, we just took care of what we needed to do. We were good situationally, and we won close games.
Hey guys, Ari here to tell you that we are so excited to be working with our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates, so they have created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy to use app. While you drive, they gather and analyze data from your smartphone sensors. After a few weeks, you will get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving.
Yeah, and you can even test it out before you switch, which helps get you the perfect way of knowing what you'll pay based on your driving, which honestly, we all probably could use a little bit of feedback. I can say my driving on the 405, not always perfect, but Root can help coach you. So you'll know a little bit as to what you need to be doing before you even switch. And speaking of tech, the Root app makes it easy for you to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just a few minutes.
Get started today by visiting root.com, root.com, and learn how you can save for good driving. The thing that I know about you, and I don't know how many teams do this. I would imagine it's not everybody, but you were known for digging deep into referee tendencies week to week. Like that's I don't know how I don't know how many teams do that, but how did that concept start for you, and how did that information help prepare the team and Mike and the entire organization?
Yeah, there are a ton of guys that do this around the league. Wouldn't know if every team does it, but the guys that I had listed before, they they definitely are looking into just what is being called around the league, what the certain crew is calling, what a certain official is calling, and then having the rapport with the officials. We love to bring the officials in during training camp because it's a relaxed setting and they sit in your meetings. You get to ask them questions. They're out on the field, and you really get to see what they're looking at, their mechanics, exactly what sets off red flags in their mind, whether it's an illegal contact or whether it's a DPI, the guy's not looking back, or the offensive player's playing through the defender who's not looking back. The restriction at where the ball is or where the ball isn't. So it's picking the minds of the officials that come to training camp or calls to the league office and just building a rapport with those men and women and finding out exactly what they're looking for. So then you can teach your players. Cause that's the second part is I can know, Raves can know, the coaching staff can know exactly what they're looking to call. But if you can't communicate that to the players and teach them and help them stay out of situations where it could be a foul, that's where you can take the next step.
Another thing that you did there in Tennessee that I also want to bring up during the COVID season, which was crazy for everybody, you had to step in for Mike Vrabel during a preseason game. What did commanding the operation, doing that, teach you? How did it come about that he picked you? I mean, that is a pretty big deal to take over for Mike.
I would say he did it so that the rest of the coaches didn't have to get out of their element and they could do exactly what they normally do. Braves and I have a direct line on a headset that no one else is on that we can click over and talk. So I think no one knows the other person better than each other. So, to say that I could be in the mind of a head coach isn't that far off. He can obviously command a team way better than I ever could. And a funny story with that. So I'm down there on the sideline. I hadn't been down on the sideline in years. And so the whole first quarter, I'm like standing behind all the players, like as I'm walking down the sideline, I'm walking behind them. And then somebody comes up to me and is like, hey, like, you're the person out front. You're the person that can walk in the white. And so then I moved out front. And now, it took a quarter to realize that and to realize I can go out on the field. And, but I think being down there was a different perspective. Being up in the box, things slow down. I think, you don't have the crowd noise. You have a replay monitor right in front of you. The experience of being down on the field was cool because it's like, okay, so this is through the lens of a head coach and this is what he sees, and how can I help him while he's down here, So that was helpful for me.
And one more thing I want to bring up from a game that I remember so well from the Tennessee days. It was that comeback win over Miami late in Mike Vrabel's career there in Tennessee. The being down, going for two when down by 8. That's something we've seen more and more around the NFL. But Mike and you like have been so ahead of the curve on some of these. Seeing that actually happen and actually become successful, how rewarding was that?
That whole game was rewarding. We came into it knowing we were underdogs, but we didn't have an underdog mentality. We knew that we were going to have to take advantage of certain things, because Miami at the time was a very talented, very fast, flying around team, and so things like that. When you can take advantage of certain situations, play complementary football. That was an extremely, extremely rewarding win for us, and one of my favorites in my time in Tennessee. But yeah, to answer your question, things like that, like going for two, those are just things that come up throughout a game, and we had to have practiced that. We had to have been ready for that. And it's not like you can score a touchdown and then be like, oh, hey, offensive coordinator, we're going to go for two. Like that takes planning, building up to that moment. So it's just being ahead of being a couple plays ahead and being ready when the time comes.
Well, obviously, we all know what happened at the end of Tennessee. People to this day still question the fact that Mike was let go, but he ends up in Cleveland for a year working, behind the scenes a little bit. You end up spreading your wings a little bit, end up in LA with Sean McVay and Les Snead, which is a big move because obviously they're just so respected. They have a Super Bowl championship here recently. How did that move come about to joining the Rams and Sean and Les and everybody else there?
First of all, I just want to say that what a blessing that was for me personally, for my family, to go out there. What a great first-class organization. Like you said, Sean, Les, James Gladstone, the Shula, LaFleur, like Kaylee, that so many great people out there. But how that came about, so Terrell Williams is now our defensive coordinator, was our D-line coach in Tennessee. He got the opportunity to be the head coach of one of the teams at the Senior Bowl. This was before we were let go in Tennessee. Then we get let go. We still go down there. Terrell had asked me to go down there and run the operations of things. So all he had to think about was coaching the team. And I love Terrell Williams. I speak so highly of him. He's just an unbelievable human being. But so we're down there, and I don't have a job, and I'm just taking it day by day. I'm extremely excited to be down there because I get to be around, some of the top talent coming out and around some cool coaches. I think that's a great opportunity what the NFL does, to highlight some of the younger coaches in the league from different teams. They get to, show what they can do in front of a bunch of scouts and coaches that are in the league. And then also just we get to meet each other and build a bond during that week. So I thought that was great. But I'd gotten a couple calls from colleagues around the league saying, hey, I've floated your name to my coach or to so-and-so, be expecting a call. And I got 2 calls during that time from head coaches, and one was Sean McVay. And I only knew Brian Zanders. He was in the personnel department there, and I only knew him from Zooms. Through he used to do the game management stuff for the Rams, and so I knew him through that. And then Chase Blackburn was their special teams coordinator, so I didn't really know many people there at all. And Chase and Brian had said, hey, Sean's gonna give you a call. So I'm like, okay, just like everybody else. And later that day, Sean called me, and we talked for 30-45 minutes, and it was just kind of our beliefs, how we would run a team, situational stuff wasn't really even talked about. And it was just a real easy, smooth conversation. And at the end of it, he said, okay, I'd like to do an interview with you, get some guys to talk to you on this interview. When would you be available? I said, after the Senior Bowl game, I'll fly back home and we can Zoom from there. He said, great. And a couple hours later, he called me and said, hey, after we hung up, I talked to a bunch of people around the league. They said, don't worry about an interview. So he offered me the job right there. I didn't end up interviewing. And it was just, again, that experience in LA was awesome. Getting to be able to see how they function. Sean is great in terms of work-life balance, especially in the off season. He understands people have families. And then Les and James really brought me into the process that they had. They allowed me to sit in on all the draft meetings and especially the post-draft process. James grabbed me and they had quite a history of the undrafted free agent process after the draft. And in Tennessee, we did an extremely good job. James said we were the best team in doing that and finding talent that made the team and contributed in Tennessee. And he was like, let's talk through what your process was, and then involved me in that post-draft process with the Rams during that draft. So I am extremely blessed to have been a part of that. Sean allowed me to sit in on all the offensive meetings. And then, we had some great conversations about football and how he sees things holistically. And I'm extremely grateful that I had that year with them.
I saw this quote from Sean to Andrew Callahan of the Herald, which caught my eye because Sean is one of the very best football coaches that we have in the NFL. He said that Stretch sees the game from an all-22 perspective. He's elite with situational football, has great eye for talent, and ties offense, defense, and special teams together. That big picture understanding made him a difference maker in LA. For just being there in 1 year and hearing Sean say that on the record, I mean, how cool is that for you to see him go out there and say that?
Again, I'm beyond grateful and blessed to have been out there. The reporter that wrote that sent me some more of Sean's comments they didn't put in there, and some of those were that I was a great listener, that I was humble, and that I listened to be able to communicate, and those were things that I took away. I hope I do that with my wife, my son. In any job that I have, I hope I listen first. I hope I listen to understand and communicate and to try and involve everybody, and through it all, stay as humble as I can, knowing that, there have been a ton of people along the way that have helped me get to the place I'm at. So I have nothing but great things to say about Sean, Les, the Rams organization. It was a first-class experience, a first-class year that I'm forever grateful for.
All right, so you're there for a year in LA. Now Mike is back in the coaching circuit, one of the hottest candidates there is, and pretty cool story. He ends up where he had most of his success as a player in New England. And one of his first hires, again, is you coming in to be the VP of football operations and strategy. What is the role now day-to-day working with Mike? And Mike has now been through all of this. When he took it over in Tennessee, that was the first time. Now he's seen it all. He went to Cleveland also for a year to go see it from a different perspective. What is the role now day-to-day? From my understanding, you guys have offices right next to each other.
Yeah, it was great. I think it was a blessing in disguise that he didn't jump right into another head coaching job. It gave him an opportunity to take a deep breath. It gave him, myself, a ton of these coaches that we're back together with to experience something else. Whether it was Terrell getting to be with Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn in Detroit, learn that system, learn what they do there, or Vrabes in Cleveland, myself with the Rams. So that in itself is a blessing. We've taken things from all those stops and tried to incorporate it. I would say that what I'm doing here is similar to the end of my time in Tennessee, just a lot more high-level conversations. I think that some of the people that I talk to on a weekly basis, I wouldn't have talked to in Tennessee, whether, I never talked to the owner in Tennessee. I talk to the Crafts all the time here. Great people who are very supportive. They've involved me heavily in the new facility that we're building that'll be coming on in April of next year that we're extremely excited about. I think that'll be a first-class facility that will allow a lot more. It's just the space is perfect in terms of the player movement from the meeting room to walk-through areas, the weight room, the locker room. It's all right there and very convenient, and it's going to be a great spot. But just a lot more high-level conversations. Vrabes, Elliott, Ryan Cowden, they've involved me in personnel conversations, and I think it's been great. I feel like my value here is, again, being a listener, being a level-headed person that will always tell you the truth, whether it's hard for someone to take or hear. And people know that they can tell me the truth and I'll be able to handle it.
Last two things here. Sean McVay, in that article that was mentioned, said that you could become a GM in this league if you want it. Is that something that, obviously you're in the here and now, but when you look down into the future, is that something that you would want to have maybe one day?
Again, if those opportunities present themselves, I would jump at something like that. The opportunity to run an organization, to have your fingerprints on things. But I love what I'm doing. I have a lot to learn. I am extremely lucky to have gotten to learn under Mike Vrabel for so many years and Sean McVay for that year. I feel blessed to me, those are two of the better coaches in the league. And I think people around the league would say the same thing. So just the people that I've gotten to work for is, I am extremely lucky for that. Whether it was starting off with Jim Tressel and just the lessons that I could take from all those spots. Like Jim Tressel is just like Vrabel in terms of he is somebody that got to know everybody. He got to know me, knew about everybody's family. He texted me the other week when an article came out about me. He said, "Hey, somebody sent me this article. I couldn't be more proud of you." So things like that, it's like you want to do well and make people proud who stuck their neck out for you or helped you along the way, whether it was Jim Tressel, Luke Fickell, Greg Gillum, Everett Withers, Mike Vrabel, Sean McVay, and all the assistants and all of the people that have helped me along the way. So that for me is why I would love to continue to have success and continue to try and do better in this league, is to make people that helped me proud.
I love it. It's an impressive group of people that you've been around throughout your career. The last thing I want to ask you here, Stretch, and I really appreciate all the time you've given so far. We ask this to every guest who comes on the show. This is the NFL Spotlight Show. We love spotlighting people around the NFL who deserve more recognition. You could pick a player, a coach, an executive, whoever you want. Who is somebody that maybe we should spotlight in the future?
I would say anybody. I mentioned a lot of those names earlier that are in this game management circle, that do a tremendous job, that I consult, ask questions. They've taught me more than I've taught them, for sure. Whether it's John Ferrari with the Eagles, he'll probably be a GM someday if he wants to be. He is like one of the godfathers of the game management and knowing exactly what the refs do. He knows what they eat, and he, he's unbelievable. But John Ferrari, Daniel Stern with the Ravens, he is big into analytics and their department that they built there. We hired Akene, who was last in San Francisco, but he started in Baltimore, and the respect I have for the Ravens, that organization, and their creativity is really, really well done. But those two for sure, Ryan Feeder with Dallas, Harry Freed in Chicago. I could name about 10 names. George in Carolina, John Park in Dallas, guys that have truly helped me. They've been in this thing longer than I've been in it, and they've welcomed me with open arms. And any of those guys that you want to spotlight, I would love it. And they deserve it.
We will get to work on it. And as you know, there are so many people within the NFL and every single team who do so much for their organizations, and they rarely leave fingerprints because that's how great they are at what they do. They get the job done, move away. And I think you fall into that category as well. And it was an honor to have you here on the show. Best of luck this season. Week 1 versus the Raiders is coming up. And I'm telling you, it's not just me, but I feel it. Everyone is really, really excited about where this New England Patriots organization is going. So thanks so much, John.
Thanks, Ari. I appreciate it.
Special thanks to John Streicher, aka Stretch. Everyone knows him as Stretch, for being our spotlight guest of the week. And as you could see, this is somebody who has a wide variety of skills, who's involved in so many aspects of an organization, and somebody who's really, really knowledgeable, and somebody who is, you know, the right-hand man, the key, the secret weapon, whatever you want to call him. He is very important to this organization here in New England as they try to fix up this roster and this team after being down for so many years since Tom Brady really left. So he's a big part of that, and his future is very, very bright. And it was great to have that conversation with him. And I think I told him this after we finished. I could talk to you for an hour, 2 hours, because his resume is so deep, his responsibilities is so much, and he does such a great job at it. And there are so many people who talk so highly about him. And the new era in New England, it is underway, and it's Mike Vrabel, but Stretch is a very, very, very big part of it as well. So special thanks to him for joining us here on the show. And he is the exact type of guest that we try to get here on NFL Spotlight, people who deserve more recognition, people who the average fans maybe never heard of or don't really appreciate enough. They do a lot in the organization, and Stretch definitely falls into that category. If you've been subscribed here on YouTube, watching every single day, we have been doing our team-by-team previews. We just had the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday. Of course, around the NFL, there has been a lot of news, a lot of action. If you follow me on X, you're seeing all of it. It is currently roster cut down week. All teams by the end of today on Tuesday must have 53 players, going from 90 to 53. On Wednesday, that is waiver wire day, and practice squads could be formed. We are going to have a lot of reaction to all of it coming up on tomorrow's episode after we do a New York Jets team preview with a special guest. So stay tuned for that as well, coming on the show tomorrow. And if you have somebody else around the NFL who deserves more recognition, leave it in the comments. Let us know. Player, coach, executive, could be anybody. We've had a couple of offensive coordinators recently with Grant Udinsky and Declan Doyle. We've had a player in Josh Metellus. We've had an executive with John Streicher, of course, today. So we're going all over the NFL to find our future guests here on the show as the NFL season is very, very close to kicking off. We will see everyone back here tomorrow morning.